What sparked your love for combat sports? Because I feel like it's such a niche sport, and we all have a unique story.
hmm It is. It's funny. I've never been into sports in general. My family, they're big football watchers, American football, but I just never really was able to get into it. So my love for MMA was born, I'd say, at a really young age. I wasn't really into watching the sport consistently then, but my dad, he trained kickboxing, so he made it a point to take me out on the back porch when I was 4 or 5 years old and teach me how to throw a proper punch, a proper kick. I was his youngest girl, so he was always very big on me knowing how to defend myself. And my dad was an avid watcher on in the Spike days, so OG
Right.
UFC watcher. But my mom and I were just Southern churchgoers. We were never really into it. We didn't understand my dad's liking for violence. But I think the first card I was ever interested, the first promo that really caught my eye was CHAEL Sonnen versus Anderson Silva 1. And my dad, military man, he was rooting for CHAEL. So I got in there. I was maybe, I think, 10 years old at this point. I'm super young, a baby in the sport and in general. But I remember he was sitting down watching some of the promo for it, and he was cheering on CHAEL, and I gravitated towards Anderson. He was the nice guy. CHAEL was just, king of shit talking before shit talking was even a thing other than Ali, but that's boxing. So really what got me into it was just trying to go against my dad. So I ended up sitting down and watching that fight with him. And as we all know, Anderson Silva did win that fight. And after that, all the emotion that was involved for me in the back and forth with my dad and the back and forth between CHAEL and Anderson, it just had me so invested. And then to see the good guy win, I was like, wait, I like this. But I will say I didn't start watching consistently. Like now I don't miss a card, but that didn't start until about 2016. So not that long ago. I would say like the Conor McGregor, Khabib era type of time, but haven't missed a card since then. And yeah, that's why I'm here now.
That's so awesome that that's the fight. Like, because
Right.
that one, like, I remember I was working, I think so. I think that was like my first or second year of high school. It was around that
Yeah.
time. And it was like the first time that I pretty much washed dishes all throughout high school at this one same restaurant. And I think that was the only night where like the boss like decided to pay for like a pay-per-view.
Oh, yep.
And like not many people even showed up for like a dinner rush. So we like mostly watched that fight. Like, it started with like peeking out, the door there, to everyone just kind of
Right.
piling out and just watching that fight. And I remember I was such a huge Anderson Silva fan. Like, for
hmm
someone who, my parents were super strict on, like, I wasn't allowed to watch this comedy movie or this or that, but I was allowed to watch like any martial arts movie, Bruce Lee,
Right.
Jackie Chan,
Yeah.
Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, Matrix, and the UFC. And I always thought, I was like, this is ass backwards. Like, you're letting me watch this violence, but you're not letting me watch like a fictional movie about it. Whatever,
Right.
I'll take
Right.
what I can get. And Anderson Silva, to me, for someone who like practiced martial arts before any other sport growing up, Anderson Silva was like a real life ninja. He was a guy like doing stuff in the movies in real
Yeah.
life. And like
Yeah.
I was too young to really comprehend steroids or any of that shit back then. Everyone was on it, so it doesn't
Same.
really matter. It's like I don't
Yeah.
even take that into consideration at that
hmm
era. And so that just like, wow, that's so cool that was the first fight. So okay, so Conor McGregor era, Khabib era, and like you said 2016, 2017 on. What are some of the other memorable fights that have really like solidified your fandom of the sport? Like once you started watching regular and you're like, okay, yeah, I'm in.
Yeah, I would say I think it was like the early 200s cards, like Chad Mendez, and no, I think it was Conor McGregor and Eddie Alvarez, obviously. I think that's the one.
Yep.
Or there's a few of them really. Izzy, and this was kind of recent, fairly recent, but Izzy and Anderson was one of my favorite fights ever because not to see Anderson lose, that was horrible, obviously, but to see him pass the torch to Izzy, Izzy became one of my favorite fighters naturally because he does remind many of us of Anderson Silva. And then to see him pass that torch, that was a great one. Of course, Khabib versus Conor. I like Conor McGregor. I wouldn't say I've been like a big fan of him, but Khabib, I was a huge fan of. I really enjoyed the way he carried himself outside of the octagon. So that one was crazy. Just all the drama that unfolded before with the dolly and the bus, and then to see Khabib hop over the fence. There will never be anything quite like that at this point. I think there could be, but that was a moment for me. Really, all the early 200s events stick in my mind just because at that point was just watching it as a fan casually. I knew nothing really. I knew no backgrounds or anything of any of the fighters, but as the years go by, it's been interesting to kind of just dive into their backgrounds more, listen to interviews, and become more emotionally connected to the fighters, because I feel as a woman that has been something that's really gravitated me towards this sport, is because it's so individual, it's one-on-one. But yeah, early 200s events, those are mine. My first event that I ever attended was 276 just last year. So as I was saying, I'm still a baby, but yeah, I would say like the early Conor McGregor era, right when he really, not early, not Cage Warriors or anything like that, but when he first really started catching stride in the UFC and just taking every contender out, every legend out, I was interested in that era. That's really what got me watching every weekend.
And see, this is why I love talking to other fans of the sports and other content creators and stuff like that. Because though, like, I'm a huge fan of Die Hard, like I watched Pride growing up more than the UFC.
Yeah,
I
props.
kind of skipped that era. Not that I wasn't interested. I still like kept tabs on it, but like I didn't watch it. Like that was like, those are like I was gonna say the glory days, but those are the peak days in college where like I'm Canadian, so like hockey will always be like that is sport to us Canadians. Like our sports center, we don't see anything NFL. We only see hockey, which living in the States now, I miss that so much, Hannah. But anyways, that's going down a tangent. I kind of just
can't you fight in hockey? Don't they allow it?
Oh yeah.
That's incredible. So I'm not even knocking you for it. Yeah.
Even at the junior ranks. And that's what my friends tell me. They're like, yeah, we see the common denominator. I love box, lacrosse, hockey, and mixed martial arts.
Right. Just violence.
I like violence, I guess.
Yeah.
But anyways, like I was saying, I kind of skipped that whole era of like watching every single card. I'd watch like the big like Diaz McGregor card. I'd watch, a big Ronda Rousey fight, Amanda Nunes fight. But like, I think like the last fight that I like really like went out of my way to buy and like have people over to watch was actually Nick Diaz, Anderson Silva. And then after that was kind of like went to school, was busy with so much in life. Then it wasn't until 2 years ago where I really like kind of like like I don't miss a card. And if anything, I went into overdrive and started watching like all these other leagues as well. Now that like Fight Pass is just like better than Netflix.
Saturated. No kidding.
It's
that
awesome.
is true. Yeah, it is awesome. And it's funny too, because since I was right before that COVID era when I started to really get into it, it's funny now talking to fans that just got into it during COVID. So they are not used to seeing the crowds, or Hamza and all these people that have kind of, those are their stars. So it's interesting how quick everything goes. And just the contrast between fans that started watching Pride era, started watching Conor McGregor era, or COVID era. It's interesting to see how much the sport continues to grow.
Yeah, I got a friend who literally he got hooked because of last season's Contender Series. And there's this Japanese kid, Kinoshita, who got his ass beat in his debut in the UFC. But like that's his guy. And I'm like, why? And he's like, I don't know. Like I loved his Contender Series performance. I love that he got a knockout with a broken foot. Like, let's go. And I'm like, that is so cool. And like he's a diehard now. He has Fight Pass. He watches one championship as well every weekend. So it's just it is cool how it's so different from back in the day. Like when you were young watching with your dad, and when I was watching with my dad too, where like we watch what we can on Spike if we can. Yeah. The Fox days were like, and then now it's just everywhere. So I do love how far the sport has come in such a short period of time.
Yeah, it's crazy.